Kody met 2.5 years ago when we were both living in the same apartment complex. And me and my roommates, we were a little cheap and we didn't want to buy our own internet package.
Me and the guys, when we'd set up our Wi-Fi password and our Wi-Fi name, we'd put our room number in our Wi-Fi.
So I went up and I knocked on the door and
I was in such a rush. I was like, gosh, she's beautiful. And I just asked her, I said, will you write your number down? I handed her a paper towel and a Sharpie. And I said, I'll talk to my roommates about it and we'll see what we can figure out.
And then it was about 3 months later, I just kept taking up internet money. And I kept giving it to his roommate, Connor. Kody was never there.
And I was always so jealous because I was like, gosh, that girl down there is so cute. Like, you guys all get to keep talking to her and I don't. And so finally, one time, I was just sitting watching TV and she knocked on the door.
We started talking and I couldn't remember his name.
She forgot my name 3 times in that same conversation.
He's like, okay, here's the deal. So he takes my phone and he puts his number in my phone. He says, you find my name and then you text me. And so of course I go down to my apartment. The first thing I just start going through my phone. I find Kody's name and I text him, and then we haven't stopped texting since.
Details of our first date. So we'd made plans. We wanted to hang out over spring break.
It was late and I had school the next morning, but I was like, it's fine. I'll just go to class tired because I never skipped class. And so I'm like, what are we doing? He's like, I'm not telling you, it's a surprise. I was like, I hate surprises. You need to tell me. He's like, no, just dress warm and wear good shoes.
I picked her up, which was easy enough. She was just downstairs and we went out and I drove her to this place where I knew we could have a little campfire together.
And so we make a fire and we're just talking and we walk around the cave and we look up at the stars, and I just kind of kept looking at him and smiling because I thought he was so cute and I was having so much fun with him.
Yeah, that was our first date.
So we kissed on the first date.
Shelbi is embarrassed apparently that we kissed on our first date, but we did.
We were sitting by the fire and there's this nasty couch, probably from the DI. I don't know how anyone hiked it up to the fire because it was a pretty steep hill, but somehow he convinced me to sit on the couch by the fire.
We're just sitting on the couch. She was to my left and there was a fire in front of us kind of flickering, and I just kind of looked at her and she looked back at me, and I kind of leaned in and she kind of leaned back.
I was thinking, okay, is he gonna kiss me now, or are we just gonna sit here and smile and just like think about it? And then he starts leaning in. I was like, okay, I can lean in too. And we just both leaned in and kissed on the first date. Oh, the proposal. I was so ornery that day. So he had the whole day planned out and I had no idea it was coming. Like, we had talked about marriage, but I didn't think it would be for a few more months. So I did not expect anything this day.
I eventually realized that this spot that's really important to us, there's a little hiking trail just barely past it. And this hiking trail, it leads up to a tree that has been on that mountainside for hundreds and hundreds of years.
He told me it was like a 6-mile hike, and I was like, okay, that's not bad. Like 3 miles in, 3 miles out, we can do that. But we start hiking, next thing we know, we run into this snowpack that's like a couple feet, and like you'd step in and you would just fall. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful, and we're only a mile into it.
I'm a deep thinker, and maybe too much so, but I had a lot of meaning thought out of this. I said, yeah, we're going from where we've been and we're taking a step beyond that, and then we're gonna take a journey together, and when we get to our destination, we're gonna see something that's been there for hundreds of years. So
we never made it to the tree because we couldn't find the trail again because we ran into more snow and it was cold and we weren't dressed to go snowshoeing. So I was ornery and I was tired and my feet hurt.
We get back to my place and we're hanging out, spending time. She goes, and actually she left and she cleaned up and I cleaned up, and she came back and she's just like, I am so exhausted, can we just stay in tonight? And I was like, no, like our friends have plans with us and I don't want to ditch on them. And she's like, no, seriously, I'm exhausted. Like, we are not going out tonight.
So he's like rushing me out the door, and I was like, what is his problem? We're just going to a campfire. Like, why is he in such a hurry? And then he gets in the car and he starts driving like 5 miles an hour. I was like, he was in such a hurry to get out of the apartment, and now he's not even moving.
We're on the way up to this place, and I get a text from the guys, and they're like, dude, maybe you should wait a minute.
And so we finally make the right turn, go up the steep hill to the canyon, the little cave, and I see all these rose petals scattered across the ground and the fire going, and there's no one around but us. And I had my water bottle, and I walk over and I just like set my water bottle down and walk back towards him. I'm like, I'm sorry, I've been such a brat today.
And finally I asked her if she would marry me, and she said yes. And it was amazing. I've never felt anything like it before in my life.
Then all of our friends came out and celebrated, and we took pictures, and it was a very happy day. So it started from being awful to being the best day ever.
Put the ring on her finger. I'd looked at it time and time again in the store. It didn't look nearly as good as it did on her finger. And I was just, I don't know, it was the most incredible feeling I've ever had up to that point.
My favorite date and memory was shortly after we started dating. Kody had to leave and do summer cells with Vivian.
I'm out there in Kansas, she's in Utah, and we're just missing each other like crazy. And so we'd worked out that halfway through the summer that she'd fly out and we'd spend a week together.
Kody took me to this really nice restaurant one night for dinner. It's called the Capitol Grill.
I just remember sitting there across the table from her and just smiling at each other.
It was so nice to see him because I had missed him so much because he was gone for a few months before I got to spend that time with him. And while we were in Kansas on the 4th of July, we got to go to the Royals baseball game. So it was really fun to spend that whole week with him.
I remember just holding her hand across the table thinking, so this is what it's like. And yeah, that was one of the highlights.
What do I love about Kody? Oh my gosh, okay, I don't think I can narrow it down to just one thing.
I could go on and on.
He is the sweetest, like most kind person I've ever met.
But she is the most caring, thoughtful, considerate person I have ever met in my life.
Even when I get grumpy or frustrated, he's the one that like calms me down and is so level with me.
I love how she keeps me in check when I need to be put in check, and how hard she's willing to work with me to stay strong together.
He is the romantic one of the relationship. He remembers the special holidays like 6-month anniversaries that I might forget every once in a while.
The things she says, she doesn't even realize when she says them, but they just, stop me in my tracks and leave me speechless.
He is so good to me, and I don't know what I would do without him in my life. He's everything to me. I love him to death, and I can't wait to marry him.
And when you really get to know her, you really learn how much she cares about other people. And I love that about her.